Hi, my name is Daniella, and you are listening to the Audacious Path podcast, the one and only podcast that is specifically aimed at adventure creators like you and me. Every 2 weeks, I interview other creators in the adventure sphere, and I ask them about how they started, grew, and monetized their adventure creator business, mostly YouTubers. Today, I'm talking to Brina Litzenberger. She's the co-founder of Creators Wheelhouse, which is an alternative platform to Patreon in order to monetize your content. In our conversation, Brina talked about why she thinks Creators Wheelhouse is a better platform compared to Patreon or other alternatives. She also talked about how to optimize monetization platforms in general, how to attract new supporters, and also how to retain supporters. You can find Brina on Instagram at Creators Wheelhouse, or you can go to their website, creatorswheelhouse.com. Also, I'm super curious. Are you going to switch over? Are you going to get Creators Wheelhouse or going to keep Patreon? Personally speaking, I am going to go ahead and get a Creators Wheelhouse. Brina did convince me. And yeah, I would love to hear what you think. Send me a DM, send me a message at The Audacious Path, and enjoy the episode. All right. Well, to start out with, if you could tell me a little bit about yourself and your life pre-Creator Wheelhouse.
So my name is Brina Litzenberger, and my husband and I were cruisers for 10 years until COVID hit, basically. But we had a sailing channel, Sailing with the Litzenbergers, and we had amassed kind of around like 7,000 subscribers. And when I went to look to monetize, I really was just really unhappy with the options out there. And then COVID hit and we lost our jobs because we were working on cruise ships and cruise ships tanked. So I had this idea to create a monetization platform that was better. And so I drew it all up, and I talked to a developer buddy of mine that's also a sailor and content creator. And he was like, yeah, let's do this. This sounds awesome. So it took us about a year to make, and now we're in the beta stages of it. And people are really liking it. People are signing up for it really quickly. So we're just like, this is great. This is awesome. Obviously, the space really needed something like this. And I'm just like thrilled that people are happy with it.
And what is a monetization platform? Like, what is it?
Sure. It's really a way for artists and creators to get money for the work they're doing. Like, as you know, content creation is so much work, and people don't even realize that when they watch the videos. It takes hours and hours to produce it. And then not only that, but your life is content creation. Like we did Canvas for Project Atticus. And when we were at their boat, people would constantly stop by and say hi. I mean, your whole life is kind of, surrounded by content creation, and it's all about content creation. It's so much work. So yeah, I just was like, they need an outlet in order to get paid for that work. And so there's other sites out there like Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-fi, I think is one. And then I think Gumroad is one for more like tangible artwork type pieces. But really, there wasn't anything out there that I thought really empowered the creators more than they did their own site.
Okay. And it's like a membership platform, right?
Yeah. So Creators Wheelhouse is a way for you to offer memberships to your fan base. Right now, we do monthly memberships, or you can offer monthly memberships. So you can, and you dictate the pricing. So you can do anywhere from $2 a month to whatever you want, $1,000 a month. You can offer as many tiers as you want. So $5 to $20 is kind of the typical tier. And then you integrate it into your own website.
And what are some of the ways that you think it's better than other membership platforms that are out there?
There are really like three big differentiators that for us. The first one is that we host all the content, but then it's showcased on your own website. So this is a really big deal for creators, because right now I think what people don't realize is when you are going on to your videos or your blogs and you're constantly saying, to support me, go over to Patreon. You're sending your fans away from you. You're actually advertising for somebody else rather than yourself. And then you're paying that platform to do so, like with the percentage that they take from that one customer that you've brought them. So I think creators are starting to realize, like, okay, why am I doing that? I need to be advertising for myself. I need to be sending people to my website. I need to be keeping their focus on us and our content and what we're producing rather than sending them away. So that's one of our big differentiators. Another differentiator is that you, as a creator, have your own relationship with the payment processor. So we don't get in between you and your payments, which means that you have more freedom. There's less moderation in your content, and you have more autonomy. Also, payment platforms or monetization platforms like Patreon and other things are having issues right now where supporters are just getting dropped payments. Like, somebody who had supported you for months and months and months might all of a sudden not be a member anymore, and they have to re-up, and their credit card might get declined again, and they're just getting so frustrated. And as a creator, you have very little power on these other platforms. Whereas with Creators Wheelhouse, you have your own relationship with the payment processor. So you hold all the cards.
What does that mean by you have your own relationship? What do you mean by that?
So you set up a Stripe account, which Stripe is the biggest payment processor online. It's basically how you'll be taking payments from your fans. And so you have your own Stripe account. It goes directly into your bank account. We never see it. Creators Wheelhouse doesn't ever touch your money. It goes to your bank account. There's no middleman. I mean, now when you're on Patreon, you get a check, I'm assuming, every month from Patreon. And you're kind of like in the dark of, how much did you get and then how much did they pay you? Whereas that's not the case with us. You have your own account with Stripe. And so you can itemize how much money that you're going to get that month, and you can do daily withdrawals if you want.
On one hand, that sounds like amazing for a creator like me who's been doing this for 3 years now. I've been a creator, but on the other hand, the thought that was popping in my head as you were talking is that that could be a little overwhelming for like new people who are having to have so much control because that's extra work. What would you say to those people? What kind of support do they get?
So I would say you're going to get way more support than you're going to get otherwise. With all of these things that are happening with Patreon, Patreon's just telling creators, we're working on it. That's the response. That's the support they're giving. Whereas if you have your own relationship with Stripe, you have the power not only to engage Creators Wheelhouse and call essentially me and say, Brina, what's happening? Is now you can go onto Stripe and say, Stripe, what's happening? And they can give you definitive answers and definitive solutions to fix the situation. So I know it's a little more daunting. It's possible, but I also think that if you're thinking in any sort of futuristic for your channel and your content, then you really need to be thinking ahead like this. You really need to be thinking, how do I future proof my money and my income and my profit? Because that's a really big deal, and you never want to jeopardize that.
Can you talk a little bit more about future proof? Because I mean, of course, part of this is that the podcast is aimed mainly at newbies, right? So, what do you mean by future proof if you're talking to a beginner?
Sure. So you want to think big. You're going to be big. Let's make that assumption, because honestly, everybody's always looking for content. How many times have you gone on Netflix and you're like, God, there's nothing to watch? So you switch over to YouTube and you find your favorite creator and you're just consuming so much content. So just make the assumption that you're going to be successful, because you are. So with that in mind, you know, make sure that you're always branding for yourself and you're always advertising for yourself. You're not doing it for other people unless you're getting paid. But for Patreon, you're paying somebody else actually to advertise for them. So you want to keep also people on your website. So, your content should be on your website. Like with Creators Wheelhouse, we're hosting it, but it's showcased on your website. So, and people won't ever know that Creators Wheelhouse is behind it all. They just go to your website and they think, oh, this is all Daniella. So that's important. And then I think what oftentimes people have the misconception that Patreon is so big, or Buy Me a Coffee is so big, or Gumroad's so big that it can't fail. But what if it does? Then you've had all of this content for years and years and years where you have said, go to Patreon to support me. And now that has failed. Now when people have found you just, organically through, suggestions on YouTube or anything, your old content says to go to something that's completely obsolete. So, in order to future proof your content, you want it to always be what they call evergreen, which means you're always pointing people to something, that a link or a website that will always be there, that will always be relevant. So you want to always push people to your website, so that, you know, that will always be there as long as you're doing content creation.
Yeah, no, and that's actually new for me, having learned, like, I've read about your creator wheelhouse before, but I didn't realize that that element of it definitely adds to the pull. Keep getting people to your website. Yeah, I still think though there is some element of like, 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have had the capacity to create a website as well. I think that's probably like the only thing that's kind of like getting in the way for me personally. But the fact that you guys provide so much extra support, I think really does kind of ease the process.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a website with Creators Wheelhouse either. So you can actually, we give you a little spot in the page settings where you can change the domain to, the Audacious Path, members.theaudaciouspath.com. And then you can just send out that link until you're ready to have a website to where you have that as a tab. So you don't necessarily have to have a website. So even that is better than sending people away from you and your, site and your sales page. So if you advertised for that link, it would just go directly to the sales page and then they can log in from there as well.
So you had three things that you said it was like much better about this platform. We've talked about two. What was the third one?
The third one is the price. So we don't take a percentage of your profit. We are just a flat monthly fee. And we've set it up where it's free for, I think it's 3 months or up to 11 members. So you can have up to 10 people sign up before you pay us a dime. And then 11 to 30 members is right now we're in beta pricing. So it's $10 a month. And then after that, 31 members to infinity is $50 a month.
Nice. It's very reasonable.
Yeah, and we're in beta pricing right now, so it's 50% off. Eventually, if you are listening to this in the future and we're out of beta pricing, it'll go up. I think we've slashed it in half, so it'll be $100 a month. But that's the most you'll ever pay. I mean, these percentages, and you can go actually on our website under the pricing page, there's a calculator. So you can enter in how many members you have, the average amount they're paying, and then it'll spit out at the bottom like what you'd pay on a different platform for percentage and then what you'll pay on our platform.
I like that. That's clever. That's cool. So how do you guys support like engagement with like if I have a bunch of members, how am I engaging with them? I'm having a little bit of a hard time conceptualizing the fact that like I can host it on my own website, for example. But does it look similar to like a Patreon? Because I think Patreon's something that people can relate to quite easily.
Yeah, so basically saying that it's hosted or showcased on your website, you're just creating a tab at the top that is links to the sales page that we create for you or that you kind of create and then it uploads, and the login page. Then once your fans sign up and they log in through there, it just looks like a normal feed, like, similar to Facebook, Patreon, anything else. The only difference is that you're not competing against any other creator when people log in. It's just your work.
Okay. Oh, interesting. And does it have, what kind of features does it have within that page?
So the members can comment and like and bookmark your content. And then we also have a section that's most popular. So your content that has had the most interactions will kind of be bundled as well within the feed, which is just kind of nice. We have a few features coming out in future phases that will allow you to like pin a piece of content at the top and stuff like that, that will give members a little bit more, interaction and engagement levels.
And is there any kind of like chat function for members to talk to each other?
Currently, there isn't, but there will be in phase 2, which is supposed to roll out by the end of the year this year. So it's coming.
That's really interesting because I just did uh, an interview with a community product growth strategist, and she said that like one of the things that she's observed for channels like ours, where we're doing like adventure and we're going around sailing, is that people really stay for the community aspect, and that our role as creators is kind of like a connector, like we're facilitating connections between people. So yeah, we'll be excited to see that.
Yeah, and the cool thing about right now being in beta stages for Creators Wheelhouse is that everybody who is signing up right now, they're really dictating how everything is made. We had somebody just write us recently that was like, "Hey, I had somebody ask me if we could do this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, great idea. Let's put that in phase 2." So it's like all the creators that are signing up now in the beta stages, it's really cool to get their input and stuff. And they're actually shaping the tool and like gonna be the future of Creators Wheelhouse. So, that's why I encourage people to sign up now, even if we don't have a feature that you're like, man, I want to sign up, but they don't have this. Sign up and start using the tool and tell us. And then, that will dictate how Creators Wheelhouse is made in the future.
How will you guys keep that kind of creator focused culture going? Because a lot of platforms, it seems like they at some point switch to being like more profit focused. So yeah, how will you maintain that culture within the organization?
You know, I don't think that. So my co-founder is Brent Fowler. He's also a sailor. I just think that we're not really made that way. We're not the CEO minded people. I mean, we're sailors who, have been stuck in the middle of nowhere and had a broken toilet who have gone to the bathroom in a bucket. Like, it's just, we are not the type of people that, are going to, we're definitely not looking at the bottom line. Of course, we have to make money because we've put a lot of money into this, but ultimately for us it's more about the fact that we saw that we think creators are really taken advantage of right now in the market. We think everybody is just kind of like vulturing in on them, and it's like, how can we get a piece of this? Down to like YouTube, they used to give out ad money for creators so much, and then all of a sudden they pull back, and it's like the creators were still creating all this content, they just weren't getting paid as much. So it just breaks my heart to see everybody working so hard, and having been there and done that, it's like I just don't see us ever, you know, working towards profit without thinking about the creator. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And also doing good for the creator is really good for business. I don't know why other platforms don't see it that way. Like giving the creators what they want and charging a reasonable fee doesn't is not bad for business. That's great for business.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really interesting because one of the things that I've been reading about is like always having like a service mindset when you're trying to start like a business, and it's something that like I've really taken to heart is that I'm here to serve other creators and help them grow. So yeah, I feel that.
I just heard this quote that I love so much. It said, "When you're stable, grow your table. Don't build a higher fence." And I think that that's really beautiful, a beautiful way to put it too, because even though I'm not a content creator right now, I was. So I know what it was like. And now that I've had the like opportunities to build this tool, it's like, yeah, grow the table. Like, once you're stable, grow the table. Let's get everybody on here and let's like make the best of it. And let's make a tool that's going to really work for creators.
I love that so much. That's beautiful. So, one of the drawbacks that I see personally is that, I've been on Patreon for a couple of years now, and my supporters are also on Patreon. They support multiple people, and so it is easy for them to just support me and just support another creator. Like, I wonder if moving to a new platform would make those people who like the ease of supporting many creators on one platform, if I would lose them in that changeover. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, I also support a number of people on Patreon. But I support them because I love them, and I would honestly go anywhere to support them. And I think creators need to remember that too, that, you're really loved by fans. And if somebody loves you enough to pay for you to keep going, they will honestly go anywhere. I also think that the way that Patreon recently, especially, has designed their new feed, I've been really unhappy with it just as a patron, because it only shows like the top 3 things that creators have posted, and it's like creator 1, creator 2, creator 3. So the creators kind of get lost, especially like creator number 3 in the feed. So, it kind of is. I understand where the trepidation would come in for creators, but I also think that, again, you are going to be successful. People love you. You need to have faith in yourself, and you need to have faith that people are going to follow you because they will.
We addressed it a little bit, but I guess what I'm wondering is are there any tips in that transfer of taking patrons over that we could possibly talk about as well? Because while like yeah, you're right, a lot of people will fall over. I still think there is a risk, but I think there's a way to minimize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're definitely not saying to delete your Patreon. keep your Patreon, because there are also members on there that are just paying you that don't even go there to look at your content. They just pay monthly because they want to support you. So I wouldn't, if I were a creator, I would never delete that. Leave that up. Let people, use it if they want to, especially if you have content that directs people that way. I would just put posts on there saying, hey, we've moved, like exciting news, like go on to my website, especially framing it in a way that is really positive, because it is a positive move, but positive for the members, saying, more of your money is going to where you want it to go, which is to me, and less of it is going towards this platform that I'm on. So, in fact, none of it is, because they don't take a percentage. So framing it in a way, because really they want to support you, they don't want to support Patreon. So framing it in a way of saying, your money is going to go to me now, like all of it, as opposed to only a portion of it. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing is, don't feel like you have to jeopardize your income through Patreon. It might be a little bit extra work to begin with in moving people over, or posting in both places for a little while. And, that's just kind of the name of the game. But again, dealing with this future proofing and making sure that your income is all yours and you're not having to give away a percentage of it, I think it's totally worth it.
I did notice that you said that you guys charge a monthly fee, and that was another thing that I was thinking of. Is that I know that myself and some other creators, like I try not to post regularly, and one of the reasons I've chosen the per creation uh, option on Patreon is that I don't feel the pressure to constantly produce in order to counteract that fee. If that makes sense, what would you say to creators like that?
So I would say two things. One is that monthly is a really great way to have an income that you can count on. Um, and a lot of people want you to continue your content. Just they just want to make sure that you will continue your content, not that you're, posting when you say you will, all that stuff. I will say consistency is really key in growing your fan base and growing your memberships, but also people want you to continue your craft. So I think monthly is a great way to have a financing that you can actually count on. Two is that we do have pay per creation in our phase two, so it will be rolled out by the end of the year, and that will also include one-time payments and a number of other things, like a sale of an item. So if you knew that you wanted to do a limited run of something, you could have, just one thing on your website for them to pay for that one thing. So that is coming. It just wasn't in the phase one rollout.
Yeah, it is interesting because you say consistency is key, and one of the things that I always talk about is that consistency is key as long as you have a base level of quality. And that a lot of people, you getting the reps in, of course, helps, like, produce better content, but I think it also can hurt you a little bit if you're just being consistent. So that I have personally chosen to not be so consistent because I'm just not ready to be there yet. So yeah, that's why it's good to know what that option is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a level of understanding that fans have too when you don't post. I know it's kind of stressful and thinking like, like I haven't posted in so long, but really fans just want you to continue. They want to know that you haven't stopped completely. I know when we stopped our channel, people were like, "Where did you go? What happened? You're pregnant. Oh my god."
If you're enjoying this episode, then I also recommend that you sign up for my newsletter, where every 2 weeks I share research back and tested advice on how to start, grow, and monetize your adventure creator business. In the newsletter, I include things such as how to tell a story, how to engage with the audience, how to promote your video, how to build an income, and much, much more. And I hope that you will join the growing list of creators who are taking their business to the next level and creating a sustainable, adventurous lifestyle. So I want to switch over to thinking about creator platforms in general and just how we can maximize, like, using them, or sorry, monetization platforms. So what would your advice be for, like, a creator that's just trying to get supporters generally? Like what's that process supposed to look like? How can we optimize that?
I think one of the biggest things is to advertise. People don't know where to go support you if you don't tell them. And I know that creators and artists, especially like our creative brains, have such a problem too with being like asking people. We feel like we're asking for money and we're begging, like, oh, like come pay me $10 a month. And I feel like, me included, I was like, oh, that just makes me feel so cringe. Like, I don't want to ask for money. But I think we need to get over that because we're not asking for money. We're asking to get paid for the work that we're doing and for the content that they're consuming. And we need to get a little more hard nosed about that as artists. You're working your butt off to create these things, and what you do matters, and what you do is worth getting paid for. Oftentimes you're working more than a 9 to 5 job and you're getting paid pennies. So telling people where to go to support you is really important. I know some people, will say it at like the end of their videos. They'll just do a quick little like, and support us on Patreon, cut off, like that's it. But I would kind of try and get over that stigma that people feel like it's e-begging, or whichever negative term somebody has told you at one point, or some troll has commented in your comment section. Fight that tooth and nail, fight that feeling, and tell people where to go, because the people that really love and support you, like, they're just looking for a way to keep you going.
Okay, so it's really interesting hearing you say this because it resonates with me. It really does. But the other side to the coin is that like when I first started my patrons, so I've had another channel, and I remember like when I asked for patrons that there was some kind of entitlement that I felt because I had worked so hard, and I felt like I was putting out this content, and I felt almost entitled to people's support. How would you address that? Because there you can be in either place, can't you? You can be in that place of entitlement or that place where you're not willing to ask.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a happy medium, but you should feel a little bit entitled in some regards. Like, you're doing a lot of work and you're putting yourself out there, you're creating art, you're creating content. I don't think, yes, of course, there is a happy medium. You shouldn't be out there going, like, I'm not going to put another video out unless all of you pay me, Like, I get that that's probably not the best route to go. But you definitely should not feel hesitant about getting paid for the work that you're doing. And, I think everybody has that trepidation. I don't think any creator, I haven't spoken to a single creator who hasn't told me, I don't know if people will pay for this. Or do you think that what I'm offering is worth it? Like, I've heard that so many times. And, if people have hit that subscribe button on your channel, or if they've downloaded your podcast, or if they've bought an art piece, like, that is validation. You're validated. Let's go. Like, advertise for yourself. Tell them where to go to support you, because if one person is interested, there's a whole litany of people behind them who are interested.
How do you determine, or how do you recommend for creators to determine if it's what they're offering is worth it? Like, for one, what should they even be offering? Like, what do you see work?
Yeah, I've seen swag work, although swag, I think you have to be careful because that can get you into trouble as far as not making money on the swag, because it costs so much to, one, produce, and then two, to ship out. So just be sure that if you're offering, a sweatshirt or a hat or whatever, you're doing it in your upper tiers so that you make sure that you're making enough money on that to cover that item and you're not losing it. Or that you're setting a expectation of, you have to be in this tier for so long for us to send you this. It's not just you sign up and you get this, so that they don't sign up and then just leave after they get their whatever swag. And then I also think, just like, people just really want to feel connected to you and see maybe some behind the scenes stuff. That's worked really well for a lot of creators, is just even little snippets of, like, here's how that was made, or, oh, here's an added story for that video that, not everybody is seeing. It's only you guys that are seeing that. I've seen that work really well, because just making them feel like special as a way, like, oh, you're getting more content than is typical, and I'm also talking to you because you're a friend and you're a fan, like, I know you'll understand, that kind of thing. It makes people feel really like included, and makes them feel special, and it makes them feel like you are grateful for the fact that they've, you know paid for your content. They've seen that this is work and they have acknowledged the fact that they're, consuming this content and they are going to pay you for it now.
Have you seen any difference in creators that are offering some kind of like specific benefit? Let's say, like, for example, you're a sailor and you are really good at cooking in your, sailboat, and then you offer extra recipes or behind the scenes cooking, and it's quite specific, it's quite niche, versus creators who are like general vloggers and they're just kind of showing their life and the lifestyle and they're offering that connection. Have you seen any difference in performance or how that works?
I haven't. I think it's more about, the connection that they are fostering with their fans. Um, I think too the an easy thing to do is just look at who you follow, and if they have a Patreon, if they have a Creators Wheelhouse, which I mean you won't know that they have a Creators Wheelhouse, but you can go to their website and you'll see that they have tiers on there, and you can see what they're offering and kind of assess like would I feel like I would sign up for this because they're offering X, Y, and Z. And if the answer is yes, then emulate that. Try it. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Like go to that you think are doing great and see what they do and copy what they do.
What about within like attracting patrons or sorry supporters to your page? Like, what kind of advice would you offer for the attraction process? Like, in terms of focusing specifically on niche, is there any difference in that as well?
I think it's similar. Like, well, one, you need to start telling them where to go. And then two, telling them what they're going to get. So, I think I've seen a lot of channels be successful when it comes to Patreon. Say, go to our Patreon because you would have seen this video a week early, and, or telling them what they're going to get when they go there. So, getting over that kind of cringe feeling of, oh, I can't tell people where to go to support me, and then going that extra step and saying what you're going to get when you get there.
That's so interesting because one of my things that I'm trying to get creators to do is really kind of like niche down into something more specific and stop focusing on growth, because what I did a bunch of research on creators within adventure generally, so whether they were sailing or they were backpacking, hiking, whatever it was, and found that like there's a vlogger formula. There's a formula to blow up and grow, and it's really like, good story, good looks, really nice boat, or it can be a really shitty boat as well. It can be there can be like a, the person who's having to scratch the way to the top, but most of us will stay within like the few thousand range. And if we're strategic about it, we can still make it financially sustainable, but we have to focus more on providing a very, very specific benefit that is focused on a part of a lifestyle, not the whole lifestyle, if that makes sense. But you haven't seen that reflected in your platform at all.
Not in our platform. I mean, I guess in my own experience when we had a channel, not that we grew really quickly, but I feel like when we did grow or when we did see numbers that were, growing, it was because we did something different than the typical channel. So, like to speak to what you were saying, yeah, to kind of break away a little bit, because I think everybody kind of watches their favorite channels and emulates them, and I think that's probably the route everybody goes, and that's pretty healthy to kind of just like see where you fit in, but then not being afraid of also being yourself, because when you're yourself, that's I think when you're most successful.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that, and I think that's something like it's like every creator goes through that. Like, I think that's just an inevitable that you go through. You listen to the comments and you're doing everything everyone says, and you're trying all the strategies, and then you realize none of that shit's gonna work, and then you start to be yourself more, and then that's when you really start to see it take off. I think that we call it the creator journey.
I think honestly that little curve that you start to make is when you start really believing in yourself. It's like when you start thinking to yourself, "Okay, I'm going to be successful, but I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to be myself." And that's when you really start to see the uplift in everything.
I'm wondering, you start your membership platform or your monetization platform, you pull people in, and then you kind of like stagnate. That's where I've personally gotten, where I'm stagnating, and I'm retaining people, but I'm not bringing new people in. I'm asking for help, I'm advertising myself. What kind of advice would you have to people like me who are just yeah, hit a wall?
I would say, with continuing to be yourself and continuing to, be true to what you're your craft is, to also make sure that you're staying fresh with your content and entertaining with your content. I know clickbait is kind of a thing, like whether it's either showing skin or, the salacious, like our boat almost sank, but there is something to that of storytelling, and having an arc throughout your content, and each piece of content that you have is, do you have a storyline that is compelling to people? And I think that if you're feeling stagnant, just looking at the analytics, and just don't even view analytics as like a scary thing. Like, this is what, look at it more of like feedback, like when did it really hit home with people, and what were the topics? And so then delve deeper into that. Just kind of, and I know it's hard because it's like, it's your baby and it's you. So you're like taking it personally maybe sometimes, but I think really just seeing stagnation as feedback rather than like a negative is a lot more positive, and it's a better way to move forward than if seeing it as a negative.
And what kind of analytics do you guys offer on the Creator Wheelhouse platform?
Our dashboard, when you first log in, we designed it so that it was really streamlined for you to get all your work done so you can focus on the important stuff. So when you first log in, we have the analytics at a glance, which is, how many site visits you have, the subscribers that you have, and when your visits were during the week. We're working on, in phase, I think, 3, a more detailed analytics page, but we really wanted to hear from creators first before we created that, just to see what they actually wanted to know and what they didn't want to know.
And what do they want to know?
Well, we've established that they really kind of want to know like when to post, and, when, like, what tiers are the most popular, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, the jury's still out, really. People they kind of don't know what they want to know. So, like we said, it's kind of great having all these creators together because they're really driving the way Creators Wheelhouse is going to go and what the tool is going to be in the future. So, it's great to hear from creators. Sometimes they don't know what they want yet. So, it's just like, okay, we're in a little holding pattern here, and we'll wait till we all know what we want, and then we'll create it.
Well, just on that note, one thing that I feel like I haven't been able to see on any platform is going back to that facilitation of connection. It would be really cool to like have some way to like connect people somehow. I don't know how that would work, but that's one thing that like I have had a wonderful time connecting people within New Zealand because they're here locally. But the ones that are overseas, there's just no way to like get them connected.
Yeah, so one of our phases, and I'm not sure. I mean, we have so many phases because, like, my co-founder Brent, he's always like, "Dream big, Brina. I'll never say no. I'll just tell you how much money it's going to cost and how long it's going to take." So, like, we're down to like phase 18, which has like health insurance for creators and retirement plans for creators. So, like, we're down to phase 18, but one of those phases is basically a way where creators can be affiliates for one another. So, if creators want to advertise for another creator, like, hey, these are the channels that I follow, then they'll be affiliates for one another. So, it's just another way to kind of grow the community of creators. Like I said, putting creators first, another revenue stream for them, but also just a way that creators can kind of like stick together and really help each other out. Like, when they're stable, grow their table, like, let's really get this community growing. Yeah. So that's in one of the phases. I'm not sure which phase that is, but it's in one of them. And then we also do have an affiliate program coming out before the end of the year too, for creators that just get other creators to sign up for Creators Wheelhouse. So trying to give creators another revenue stream too, because when you're not worried about money, then you can really focus on your craft.
Yeah, no, that makes a huge difference. Like being able to like lean into that, what we are talking about before, like lean into yourself, is one of it's almost a freedom that you get from success, unfortunately. So
I mean, I know with Patreon, they're just the way that their business model is, they're not able to offer affiliate programs. So we're really lucky in that, the way that we've structured the business. So, and we want to do a pretty aggressive affiliate program. I think that we're talking about 20% for the life of the creator you sign up. So, I mean, you could be making $20 a month for every creator that you sign up. And so if you get, however many creators to sign up for Creators Wheelhouse, that's another revenue stream for you guys, which I think is so important.
and what do you think is the future of monetization platforms in general?
So I think right now, Patreon and like Buy Me a Coffee and Kofi and all these other sites, they're kind of like cable TV used to be. Like, you go on, you flick through all these channels, it's all consolidated, it's all in one place. But now, if you've noticed, like all of these channels have branched off and they're advertising for themselves. There's the Disney Channel now, there's Peacock, there's all these individual channels that are now its own thing. That's what Creators Wheelhouse wants for creators. We don't want you guys to be on the cable TV where everybody's just flicking through and there's so many creators and you're competing and it's just overwhelming and you don't have a lot of control and there's moderation. And so we want to provide smaller individual creators with a voice and to advertise for yourselves and to have your own avenue and build your own brand.
If I'm a new creator and I'm trying to find a way to monetize, how would you recommend I go about making that choice and deciding where to put myself?
So I think it totally depends on how you see yourself. And, Creators Wheelhouse is not for everybody. I will say it's not for the hobbyists. It's not for people who are going to dabble and, are only going to do this every once in a while. And maybe they just want to get paid from grandma and grandpa or whatever. This Creators Wheelhouse is definitely for the creators who are artists and they want to make this a source of income for themselves and they're taking it really seriously and they want to build their brand. Even if you don't have a website, you still might be taking this really seriously. So you should definitely go the Creators Wheelhouse route. Not, I know I've like said how we're better than Patreon. I don't think Patreon is necessarily a bad platform. It definitely has its place, and it definitely is a good platform for people who have a certain mindset. But if you have a more serious mindset when it comes to content creation, then I think it's really important that like we talked about, you're future proofing your entire brand and you're really thinking ahead. And right now, when you're first starting out, I know it's really hard because you're thinking, well, I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I don't know if I'm going to, going to make it. I don't know all these things. But like I said, you really need to stop the self-doubt, stop the imposter syndrome, really go after it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. That's awesome. And I think one of the biggest switches that creators need to make is understanding that it is a business. That's the reality of it. It's a business, and you need to look at it that way to some extent. Of course, you want to make sure you don't burn out, but if you're not thinking of it as a business, you're not like keeping it serious in the way that it needs to be in order to be sustainable for a long time. And this could be a life that we can all have if we just change that mindset.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that that was a big surprise to me when we started creating videos. I was like, man, not only am I this creative person, but now I'm also running a business. And that side of it is something that people don't really think about initially. But you're creating a logo, you're creating a website, you're creating marketing, you're creating a business plan, you're creating all these things whether you know it or not. So it's just a matter of facing that reality and planning for that future and planning so that you can have an income that isn't, chipped away at by these other platforms.
I'm wondering if, just to wrap it up, if there's anything else that you've seen, in terms of like trends of what works on the platform. Like we talked about already, like engaging with your audience and making sure that you're giving them a background and behind the scenes and stuff like that. But I'm thinking like more specific, like frequency or types of posts or something like that, because I think that it can be quite abstract unless you've seen it yourself, seen what works. So have you seen like specific, how does it work?
Honestly, what I've seen work is kind of the behind the scenes or the little snippets of your life that make fans feel like friends. So, making people feel like more than just they're watching a TV show, making them feel like they're a part of the process or they're a part of whatever portion of your life that you are showing to these people, whether it be podcasts or not. Like questionnaires and polls, like, even me who, I follow some people on Patreon, but they recently did like Instagram stories and they did a poll and they asked people like, ask us anything. And somebody read my question and I was like, oh my God, they said my name. Like, I was just way too excited for just them to say my name. But that's really what it is like, it's feeling like you're connected to this person and feeling like, oh, this isn't just something that I'm watching and just kind of zoning out on. I'm a part of something bigger than just this one person and just me.
No, I feel that as well. Yeah, keeping connected. Have you seen any patterns in like frequency or how often that's happening or how long a post or a video is?
I haven't yet. I mean, I'm sure that I will. I guess now we've launched in January, so I guess it's been 10 months. So we've gotten a lot of creators on there and signed up and everything. So time will definitely tell, but I definitely haven't seen any trends that I'm like, oh my gosh, all of you need to go do this right now. I wish I could. But I really think it's more just about the connections that you foster and just the entertainment value that you bring to your fans and the fresh new take that you have on any one thing.
And I think it's interesting because as you're talking, like part of me thinks that like when you're a beginner, you want things to be prescriptive and set in a certain way because it seems like that's easy and you can just copy that and you can do that. But the reality I think with a lot of this stuff is it's a mindset. It's a mindset that you get into that you really need to embrace. And the mindset is one of you're building a relationship. You're building a community. And whatever that feels like to you, you need to embrace that. There really can't be a prescription like this is what you should do because then it's not going to be authentic either.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think too, if you think about sailing in general, one of the things that I think pretty much every sailor will tell you what they love is the sailing community. Hands down, that's pretty much the answer of everybody that I ask. Why do you like cruising? They say, oh, the sailing community is great. So if you think about it in those terms, everybody's trying to find that. Everybody's trying to find their place in life and their place in a community or their place in some art form. And, if you give people that space to be themselves and to feel included, like you've already won. And part of that is thinking that you are successful and that you're going to do this and you're going to be that person to start this community. And so, yeah, getting over that imposter syndrome, changing your mindset, and really getting out there to your fans and advertising and giving them this place to be is really what that takes.
All right. Do you have anything else to add or that you want people to know about Creator Wheelhouse before we end here?
Just that, yeah, I would encourage people to go check it out at the website, creatorswheelhouse.com. You can sign up for free. We don't require a credit card. Check it out. Even if you're just kind of curious, sign up for an account and poke around, see what you think, and let Brent and I know. I mean, right now, because we're in beta stages, when you call support, you talk to me or you talk to Brent. And if you need your account set up, you talk to me or you talk to Brent. So eventually, obviously, that will change as we grow. But really, because Brent and I are so hands on just throughout everything, we'll always have a hand in everything. And so I think creators have really enjoyed the fact that like they're talking directly to the founders. They have a hand in how this is being developed, and they know that when they contact support that they're going to be listened to. So yeah, I would really encourage everybody to check it out, especially if you're a content creator and you're thinking more seriously about your business.
And I do have to say that, for one, I think you guys are doing a great job advertising, but also this interview also helps clarify some things for me. And I feel like you guys are offering a wonderful product, and I'm going to go check it out immediately. So well done. I'm super excited for you guys, and I will do everything I can to help you guys be successful. So yeah. Thank you so much for having a listen. If you enjoyed this podcast and you thought it brought you any value, one of the easiest ways you can help me build this and reach more people is to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. It helps this little show grow and also helps me reach more people who need this advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.